Alright, hey guys, doing the next one, we're going to do Sonic's first DG. They're on Clubhouse as well. I think this was the first game last week, and we're going to be focusing on DG. Same thing as before, we'll see what they did wrong, what are some things they could have done better, and then if they have any bad habits that we notice. So we'll just get right into it. We can see right off the bat that number one, Mavericks ban, normal. Sledge is banned. That's a little bit, I guess, new or uncommon. Valk is banned. Not uncommon. Jaeger's banned, which is, I'd say, a little bit uncommon. Starting on Church, due to their lineup right now, we can assume it's going to be an SSG style type thing. Yeah, we see a 6-pick to Castle. And, okay, we see 6-pick from Jackal to Zoph. Could have gone either way on that one, I think. I mean, obviously, Jax is going to help with the clear, but Zoph is going to have more utility. Standard stuff so far. This is not so standard. So usually when you do this strategy, what's going on here? Is my pen gonna work? I guess not. Maybe I need to restart it. One sec. Alright, well, while I'm doing that, basically what happens is, usually this strategy is, like a guerrilla warfare type thing, right? So that you leave that moto hatch soft. There we go. You leave that moto hatch soft, and that allows you to rotate. So we'll go back just a sec. Alright, so back to this. So usually you leave this soft. That way you can rotate into it if there's any kind of issues, because the whole point of this strategy is to waste time, utility, and fall back, you know. So you might show face on the top floor or whatever, create some problems, kill some drones, drop the hatch, or come down main stairs, cause some problems potentially down here, drop the hatch. You know, you're not necessarily playing for life, but you're just playing to waste time and utility and possibly, you know, try to get as many drones as you can. So that way when they have to execute on the site, they don't have the intel they need. And that's why it's interesting that they have that moto hatch reinforced, is because obviously that's cutting off a rotate for yourself. So we'll see how they play it. The other thing we can see, which I saw, okay, yeah. This, so what you would normally see, can we see it, please? All right, there we go. So we can see that this hatch and this hatch are not open either. Usually what we would see is those hatches are open because someone would be playing in this vicinity. And then you have your other guy somewhere, you know, in these areas, wherever. Maybe they're supporting each other, maybe they're not, but you usually have both hatches open, so that way they have a way to retreat, right? And then they can drop down and they can go through blue hatch, or they can go through moto hatch. But we see that not only did they reinforce the moto hatch, but they left both of those. Obviously, they didn't open them. So I would say that at this point, I don't see how this strat is going to be viable, just because the whole point of this strat, like we talked about, is guerrilla warfare and staying alive, not necessarily playing your life. And they've really created a lot of cutoffs for themselves. There's not much that they can, many places they can go. So essentially, either they're going to die up there, they're going to win gunfights, or they have to somehow control the stairwells so that they can retreat. It's pretty much their only options with this strategy. And we could see that that's what they're kind of trying to do. They've got the castle there, on main, and they've got the Malusi here on blue. So they're trying to control the stairwells, but if you think about the amount of space that they're giving, like this Malusi could potentially swing and kill someone here, but if she doesn't, or she misses, or she loses the gunfight, like this is all free real estate. They can take all of bar basically, like because of this setup. So I just see a lot of holes in this strategy. I don't see how it's going to work unless they win early engagements. And the other thing is too is you got Habana and Thatcher on the board, so it looks like they pretty much gave them the whole west side of the map for free. And it looks like they're banking on being able to come down the red stairs there as their retreat spot. But again, all you'd have to do for that is take lounge or even take bottom garage, and you're pretty much cut off at that point unless you win the gunfight. Okay, so now they got to retreat. Bang. Straight from lounge, just like we talked about. And they didn't go 1 for 1. They went 0 for 2, so that's real rough. But again, that's that free real estate that they gave him. I don't know if that Zofia came through stock or if she came through the lounge door, but either way, like we talked about, there's so much free real estate that they gave him, and there's nowhere to run. No retreat spots because all of those hatches are reinforced. And then, yep, we see 4v1. A lot of time left, too, 52 seconds. All right, so on this first round, we could say strat is their problem. Other than that, I wouldn't say there's too many issues because, you know, it's the strat overall. Like, the strat allows the attackers to cut them off. It allows the attackers to have a lot of free real estate. Let's see. So I think ideally, and I was playing around with this, I think that if we look at it, obviously they have the 2 castles on the pool double door and the bathroom single there. But the problem is that they're reinforcing this hatch. I think they open this hatch, like, and that's typical of this strat. They obviously reinforce the kitchen hatch. They open the bathroom hatch. And then, which is typical as well, is they can make some footholes here, which helps pressure stock. So then we can move the castle into playing in here, like is typical of this strat. But something that may be a little less unorthodox is that we could reinforce these 2 garage walls, and that would allow the Malusi to move up into here, right? So if she plays here, then she can move forward and help him. Oh, I just realized I'm using the wrong one. Here we go. She can move forward and help him. He can move this way and help her. He can get an angle and they can get a crossfire on stock. And by reinforcing this, it forces, if someone comes into garage, they have to come through this doorway, right? They can't just wall banger through the wall. And in reality, they have the extra walls because if we go up, and you can see I was playing around with this a little bit before. But so what they could do is obviously they have their regular reinforcements here, and then they did their 2 reinforcements here. So that's 6 reinforcements already, and you need 4 on site, right? So you need the 2 for dirt, and then they're using 2 on the church wall. So obviously they have this muted. We know they have this muted. Both are muted, but it doesn't really matter because of the Thatcher. But what they're doing is they're giving up a lot of free space here. So either they need to show influence over here and create problems, which would mean that they would have to open the hatches, or if they're going to give them this whole side for free like they did, then they could, which would be unorthodox as well, as they could reinforce the logi walls. At this point, right, because they're already giving up this side for free, that allows them a little bit more free space to work in this area, and they can get angles on this door, because unless they use a breach to come through here, they're going to be forced to come through this door, right? So then you can have the, which I already have here, you can have the vigil playing on top garage, and then, or the mute, doesn't matter which one, because the mute wasn't using a shotgun anyway, so either one's going to have a good gun for playing top garage, and then the other player, because they have a rotate here already, can be playing like in this area, or cash, top red, whatever, and then he can fall back. But this position also allows support for the Malusi if the Malusi's playing lounge. So now the Malusi only really has to worry about blue window, and then coming through stock or coming through this door. So if you think about this setup in particular, it's much more set up to play around each other, which is what basically they're not doing right now, right? They have the strat is a little bit unorthodox that they're using, and they're not able to play off of it at this point. So these were just my thoughts on something that they could have done differently. Obviously, there's no, my answer isn't right. It's just an opinion, but looking at what just happened to them, we can assume that that strategy could have been potentially better, because they wouldn't have been able to get cut off like the way that they did. All right, so we see round two. They're going same site so far, same setup, same. They're going for that same SSG type thing, but they pick a Rooney here, which I assume is going to be a 6 pick. But the thing that you have to remember with this is it's not that big a deal. So like when they're looking at this, they're going to see that there's a vigil on the board, and they're going to see that there's an Aruni. Aruni would lead you to believe that they're going to go CCTV and that they would 6 pick the vigil, and the vigil pick leads you to believe that they're going to go basement and that they would 6 pick the Aruni, in my opinion. So that means that, they're playing a little bit of mind game, and that means that Sonics here are going to have two conversations on what are they going to do if they have to take CCTV, and what are they going to do if they have to take bottom floor again. And this is all, like we talk about always in every VOD, time utilization. Mind games are always good, making them use their time talking about things, so that they can't spend as much time planning on one specific event, because they have to plan for two specific events. So same setup. Hatches are still reinforced. They didn't open some of the other hatches, so we can see that unless they're going to get early picks, I just don't see how this is going to be again viable. How this is going to work for them, but they've probably tried this in scrims and it's worked, so that's why they're trying it here. But that's the thing about scrims is some stuff works in scrims, but it's not necessarily going to work on game day. Some stuff works on paper. I think it was Mike Tyson that said it. I could be wrong, but you can have all the planning in the world, but once you get hit in the face for the first time, all those plans go out the window. And that's the same thing, and that's why I always try to teach teams to be adaptable, to be flexible, because, again, just because this stuff works in scrims doesn't mean it's going to actually work on game day. So I don't know how often they've used this strategy, but obviously last round we saw them get punished pretty quickly for it. So first issue we see besides the strategy is this positioning. This is such a common spot. Like, if I'm talking to anyone, once this wall's open, like, I would just tell them, like, pre-fire this. Shoot through the wall. There's no reason not to. And if someone is sitting there, you're either going to injure them badly, you're going to down them, or you're going to straight up kill them. Like, there's no point in not, because it's such a common spot, like a rat spot for people to be sitting. and it's just a direct line of sight as soon as you come through that wall. Oof. I don't know if that was a misdrone or what's going on there, but um, it seems like they know now. And see exactly what I was talking about. There's nowhere for this guy to go because of that positioning. And so as soon as they shoot through the wall, he dies immediately. Clearly they had intel. I don't know like how, if they heard him move or whatever, but look at that. This could have all been done the same time if they had just shot through the wall as soon as they come through. So I would say bad positioning there. Not sure, at least at this level, why you would do that, but all right. And then we see so both roamers are gone again early, just like last round, and they have complete control at this point of the upper levels. All right, and just like we talk about always, there's phases to attack. First phase was clearing top floor. Now for the most part, they're clearing the second floor, I assume, by droning just to see if there's a third roamer. They already have control of stocks, and they're looking down the blue hatch. So first phase was complete. Now they're droning, they're getting intel, and they're going to move on to their next phase. Oh, that's rough. All right, so they're in real bad position now. 5v2. There's 54 seconds left, so they could spend maybe like 15 seconds here getting some intel, and then all they have to do is isolate one of these players, right? And basically, anytime you're in this situation, you can assume that one's going to be church and one's going to be armory, because there's no way, right, that smart players would stack up. Like, for example, they both wouldn't be church, right? Because that as soon as you drone, and that's what these players have to assume, and that if you're in this position, you would have to assume is that they're going to drone, they're going to get intel, and then they're going to find out like, oh, armory is free, and then they're just going to take it, and then they're going to plant, right? So you have to play split like this. So it's a matter of, at this point, them taking, like I said, maybe 15 seconds to figure out which player they want to isolate, if they're going to want to take armory, if they're going to want to take church. Usually in this case, church is a little bit easier to take, and all they need to do is just isolate. So they could lock off this long hallway. They can take control of blue here, and that pretty much at this point isolates this Malusi. And especially if they get the kitchen hatch open, like, she's very limited on where she can move. So really, like, if you have one person watching long haul and you have one person take blue here, then you still have 3 people on the board that can push in and take out this smoke, right? You might lose one, but probably that's the most that you're going to lose. And then now you have complete control. She's still cut off over here, and then you can plant. Like, that's all they have to do at this point. This should be their round. It's pretty easy, especially at this level of plays. That's what I would expect. All right, so I'm not sure why they're doing this. This is kind of useless because, like we talked about, really all they have to do is isolate one of the players. They're not going to get a pick off of vertical, um, and they still can open hatch here. Like, they don't need to be spending their time doing vertical. They could just open hatch if they really wanted to. And in reality, because of the way that they could isolate the guy in church, they don't even have to open this hatch. But opening the vertical is pretty much a waste of time at this point, because there's no way the Malusi's gonna like give herself up in that position, right? She just played by AK. All right, yeah, he has to get aggressive. Wow, wow, that's what we call a hero play right there. And he gets the 4K. Okay, so we can go back. All right, so what we see here is them. Obviously, they stalled out, right? Not sure what the issue was. We see they went from 54 seconds to 18 seconds, so they wasted a bunch of time. 5v2. Not really sure what's going on in their comms there, but that I assume there's a failure in comms and leadership at this point. But the next part that we see is a huge failure in comms. So they, like we talked about, all they had to do was isolate this guy. And you can even think if someone was main right here when he crossed, they because of this wall's like soft and there's holes in it, they could have just banged him right there, right? But the other thing that we can notice is that, uh, or that we can expect, right? If we are playing this game and we're seeing what's going on here, they are opening this wall. This side is already soft. His only option is to play on the bomb chassis that's like right here, or he can, there's obviously the long desk that he can play on, but most likely in this case, because it's 5v2, he's gonna have to get aggressive. There's no choice because there's no way he can just sit back and wait for things to happen at this point. So he's gonna become proactive, and they should be expecting that. And it seems like they were just completely off guard that he was gonna do this, which is pretty crazy because I mean this is so common to see that when people are in this position, they get aggressive, right? So he gets the first pick here, which is not like okay, that's no big deal. But look, like this dude is blowing away, right? And they're both players are looking this way. They're not even reacting to the fact that the player just died right next to them. So I don't know if it's a failure in comms or if they're just clueless. Like I'm not sure what's going on there, but like we can see, and at that point, right when he's about to get the third kill is when the Ash turns around. So big failure on their part. Huge play by him. And then he gets this fourth kill here. So yeah, not sure what happened there. I think that they were playing safe because it was a 5v2 and they didn't want to throw the round, but they threw the round by playing too safe, right? All they had to do was isolate the Malusi from, like we talked about, long haul and blue, and then they can send 3 guys into church. All they got to do is just get some intel. They could have Selma'd that wall and then just bum rushed him, really. He would have got 1, maximum 2, but there's no way he would have got all 3. That round was theirs. I can't believe they lost it. But all right, so back to this one, strat. Other than that, positioning. Sorry, and position. All right, so that was their 2 issues. Is the strat itself? They did the same strat in a row, but then the positioning and the mute there was a problem. All right, so we're going CCTV. Overall standard setup. I don't know if they're going to be trying a bandit trick here or if they're just going to put the bandits down because, I mean, in reality, they're going to get the wall open anyway. There's no way, right? I mean, Thatcher's open, Habana's open, Ace is open. They could even, like, they have 2 options here of, like, they can either throw the Thatcher and use 2 Selmas to open the wall, or they could throw the Thatcher, use 1 Selma and 1 Habana. Like, the bandit can't stop both at the same time, right? So, I guess we'll see what they do. But the other thing to notice is that even though Jaeger is banned, they're bringing a lot of stuff that requires utility soak, right? Because they have 2 bubbles, they have Wamais, they have 2 shields, and then they have 3 banshees. So if you think about this, they have no nades, right? So they only have 5 options. That they have the 3 ash charges and the 3 impacts, or sorry, the 2 impacts that can deal with utility, and then obviously they have this, but this just what do you want to call it? Burns it or whatever. It turns it off for a specific amount of time, but other than that, it's still, then they just come right back up, right? So they're going to have to be selective with where they use their utilities. So I assume this is probably, their similar setup to what they would do even if Jaeger wasn't banned, but they probably switched in that Wamai instead. I had to take some water real quick. All right. Oh, so and then something else that maybe this is more old, like old school prior to the Thatcher change when Bandit was more still in play in the meta. But for anybody who doesn't know, obviously they reinforce this door here because if they throw nades or impacts, it has less effect or no effect on the bandit while he's sitting here trying to bandit trick, at least for one of them. You know what I mean? So it's pretty useful, but that's like what we said. And it looks like he has it prepped so that if he needs to, or either way, they can vert through it or jump through it. So it's prepped for a jump. Okay, so we see bandit tricking this time. We see the first pick on this Logi hatch, which is something to note because we just did the Xset Oxygen VOD review. And Xset got 2 kills off of this hatch in the same game, right? And I believe both times they were playing Jim. So the fact that we're in this game, both games on club that we watched this week that we did a VOD review on, somebody's gotten a kill from this hatch. So this is a very popular spot right now to be getting C4 kills. If I was anybody like analyst or coach talking to any of the like CL or PL teams, I would be telling them, this is something that's popular right now. We need to be wary of that because that's 2 games in a row in the same week that they got picks off of there. Not sure what's going on. They're wasting a lot of time trying to get this wall open because they could just Thatcher like we talked about and either throw 2 Selmas or, 1 Selma and 1 Hibana charge. Not sure why. This is interesting too because we can see that he hasn't even used his EMPs yet, but for some reason he's taking stock. Not sure why that is. If anybody should be taking stock, it should be the Zoph. And then if they do want someone to be watching blue, it could be the Thatcher. But I mean, if we're like we always talk about, attacks are in phases, and obviously first priority at any time on this site as an attacker is opening the plat wall. So I'm not sure what. Wow. All right, so just like we talked about, he shouldn't have been there. He gets wall banged. And he even had all 3 EMPs in pockets, so that's pretty rough. Pretty much a round ender right there. I don't see how they can come back from this unless they just get some good picks. One Selma left. All Hibana charges are gone. Or pellets. Alright, so in case anybody doesn't know, and we can see the shadows going on, if you're on the rafters, the left side of the door, if they're coming from this direction, you'll be able to see their shadows. And that's easy to tell because if we could see, there's the shadow of the building that goes across the ground like this. But if you're on the right side of the door and you swing, they can't see your shadows. So I don't know if he's using that to his advantage, but either way, you know at this point that they're going to have to come through the door or they're going to come through bottom garage. Like, that's their only options. So he gets his first pick, loses, but that's fine. He gets a 1-for-1. It's 2v4 at this point. 40 seconds left. They only have one drone, not too much utility. So all they got to do is just be patient here, play off of each other. This is their round. One down. And I'm also not sure what's with them in dropping the diffuser. I noticed on the first round, I want to say, that they dropped the diffuser as well. I'm not sure what the deal is there, but you can see, like, I mean, it doesn't matter. He's not going to win this, but you know that you can see that he's got to run back for the diffuser. I'm not sure why they're doing that. All right. So this round went pretty well. Um, Strat was nice. Good. Good adaptation without Jaeger, and bandit tricking was good. So you don't see too much bandit tricking anymore because it's not as viable as it used to be. But um, I don't know if they knew they picked off the Thatcher or not, because you know he shouldn't have been there. And if that was the pick I got through a wall bang, I wouldn't assume it was the Thatcher. But that was pretty much the round ender at that point, and then they just played it good. They were patient. They played off of each other. They didn't give any free picks really. So that was just a good, strong round overall. Okay, gym bedroom. The one thing I would change on this lineup would be mute for the Aruni. I don't think that, even though that Thatcher is open, I don't think that Aruni is going to be as powerful on this site in this setting. I don't know how else to explain it, but clearly they're going to either put down the bandits, but I assume that they're going to try and bandit trick again. Um, but I think that was a one-time thing. At this level, you get away with it once, which is great. You take your win, but I don't think he'll be able to bandit trick further. I would be surprised anyway. If he does, that's a huge failure on Sonic's part. All right, that's interesting. So usually what we see on this site is that he's doing a full line across, but usually we would see a reinforcement here because it gives like a big line of sight from the window, and they can see a lot into sight, and that one reinforcement pretty much cuts that off. So that's pretty interesting to see. They must be using the reinforcement somewhere else. Overall standard setup. When we watched the Oxygen game versus Exet, both teams chose to reinforce the outer CCTV wall instead. But in this case, we see them doing more of a standard setup and playing cash. So they did use all their reinforcements. I guess we can see that there's no rotate here. Usually they'll reinforce the right wall and then make a rotate in the bathroom. But looking at it, I assume since there's no rotate, that's where they've used their reinforcement there. I would still say I'd rather put it over on this. uh, master gym wall. All right, we see them try to bandit trick. They got the wrong wall, just like we talked about. You know, it's probably a one-time thing, and it's pretty unfortunate that he missed that one, but it is what it is. Okay, yeah, so we can see that both reinforcements went on this bathroom wall here. Just trying to bandit trick again in there. And then something to touch on real quick. So whenever I speak with teams, I always tell them like, even if you're, even though they're doing this side of a push, right, the west side, they could have had someone spawn warehouse, and just like it could have been Ash or something. She could have been someone could just use a breach charge on the CCTV wall and open that, uh, because it creates like, and that's the thing that we always have to think about as defenders and attackers is pressure points. It creates a pressure point to where this person's going to be much less likely to play like this because the wall is open. They don't know if someone is out there, so it's a matter of them taking the chance of like assuming no one's out there, or you know what I mean. Like, so this opening this wall alone could create the pressure needed so that they don't come play the CCTV window. So it's always worth opening just for that case. And like, what else are you going to be using? You have 6 breach charges. Like, what else? It's not going to take much time. Like, what else are you going to use that stuff on? All it does is benefit you as an attacker. Oh, he's going to miss this one. And it's actually smart to do it prone level like this, or foot level, because he has 0 chance, like, at this point, right? He can never play that area now because he's just open right away. Nice, but he gets his second one. So it's a good play on both their parts because he does get the second Selma there, but you know, he did miss the first, and they playing that right by throwing it on the prone like that. Okay, so then they used the impact so that he couldn't do the bandit trick the next time. And somehow he survived. So that's a misplay on their part. Like, he shouldn't have been able to survive that, but it is what it is. Sometimes you just can't get a good line of sight or something. I don't know. But if we're talking about, so I wish I could, you know, have view of this or the replay, but if we're talking about, this is where I think that mute would have been better than the Aruni here, because number one, can mute off this stuff, right, which is going to help the cash guy, or you could just mute the double wall, not the triple, and put the other mute here, which would protect this con wall. But the other option could have been, because we know they have a Thatcher, they could have helped the bandit if they put a mute on the jacuzzi wall. Then they have to Thatcher it. Then he can bandit trick. And if they wanted to, they could put the other mute on the inside of bathroom. Like, I just think that mute would have been so much more beneficial here than the Aruni. But that's just my opinion. Because the whole point is, like, obviously Thatcher is dead, but you can see that before he died, he never was forced to use his EMPs to do anything. Like, you know what I mean? So even if they were going to bandit trick, they could have put a mute there, which would have forced the use of an EMP. Then he can bandit. And then same thing with bathroom. If they had a bandit or a mute jammer in here, they could force the EMP. And so that's just wasting their utility. All right, and then so something to notice too here is that because of this, the way that this is set up now, they have full line of sight in there. And then if you think about the fact that they didn't reinforce that gym master wall, they have huge lines of sight. Like, they're so cut off and like have nowhere to move at this point because of these lines of sight. All right. And then, okay, awesome. This is what I was going to say as well, is the Aruni didn't come into effect that much either, if you think about it, because, like, look, they didn't even have to burn this. So, like, just my opinion, I think that they could switch the Aruni out for, whatever you call it, a mute, and maybe another option that couldn't have been bad to add to this, which, can we see their lineup real quick? Um, is they could have added a castle. So, I he's only useful in one area, so I mean I think they had him playing cash, but I think that they could have dropped like I think Smoke is good, I think Malusi is good, and I think Wamai is good in these cases. But if they had castled as well to force the use of utility and like help with lines of sight, like I think that they could have brought Mute and Castle, obviously knocked out the Aruni, and then I would say either the Wamai would be the first option in this case because he's really only going to have effect in one area. So if he's playing cash, that's the only place he's going to be useful. So I think that probably Wamai would be the first choice, but you could argue that you could drop either of those. But I would think Wamai would be the first choice, and you could pick up Castle in this case as well. Oh, sorry. So this one I would say strat in the sense that not, or let's just not do that. Let's say not bringing correct ops. Rooney for mute. We'll leave it at that because the other one's arguable, but I think that the mute would have had a huge impact on this and caused them to use way more utility than they did. And then I would say setup, or yeah, because the reinforcements, that one reinforcement could have been crucial for them. But this is all hindsight, and even if they had done that stuff, it doesn't mean that it would have changed anything. But it would have just changed the flow of the round. All right, so going back to church, automatically we can see different lineup. We don't have the vigil. We don't have the castle. Obviously, they're going to know that they're going to go to church at this point. And then with this strat, they can assume at max there would be 2 roamers, but I assume that at max they're going to do 1. But most likely what this is going to be is a turtle strat. They tried the SSG thing twice. It didn't work. And these guys cleared top down. So in reality, having a roamer out there is just losing a number. He might get lucky and get a pick or two, but most likely they're just going to get picked. So if I was them, I would just play turtle at this point. Looks like the bandit went upstairs. Oh, he went back down. All right, so all 5 are sight. Something interesting as well is this shield. Most times you're going to see the shield here looking that way. So that's interesting. I think it's clearly like for late round when they drop the hatch, he has protection. So, but obviously it leaves him vulnerable to blue. And then, okay, so we can see either A, they had intel prep bays, or they got intel early that they see that there's no roamers, or if there is, there's only one upstairs, and they can just force them to come down. And we can see they're already opening up vertical at 2 minutes 20 seconds. So that's good timing on their part. Some teams take a little bit too much time to take advantage of this type of thing. Hatch is open, or at least Moto hatch. They just blow up one of their own drones? Oh, no, it was a C4. Alright, so a lot of control at this point between the vertical. It looks like they have both hatches open. So now, at this point, it's just a matter of getting intel and start executing and getting a couple picks. You see those discs coming into play protecting that shield. That's pretty nice. $50 left. So they're stalled out pretty hard. They did get a lot of good vertical control early, but they've done really nothing from it. DG's done a good job of like not putting themselves in positions to get picked by that vertical. Alright. Maybe a bait and switch here. Going to kitchen hatch. Okay. So no, we can see that. So what we just saw is that they used concussions from main stair into armory. I guess it would be like this area, right? Somewhere in there. And then they immediately ran over to blue. So it looks like they're going for a bait and switch of like making them think they're going to go for a church, you know, main take, and then they've switched over to blue. But it shouldn't really matter because they have number count. There's 16 seconds. Like they're gonna, all they have options for at this point is the frag. They lose their blue guy. Oh, I don't know if they're. See what happens here. I don't know if that was a failure in comms. So you see, okay, so you see the blue guy get picked. One is already like pushing in. I think it was the Habana is pushing in the door, and then you've got the Zof here. But we can see that the Malusi is completely oblivious to this and is still looking at kitchen hatch. So I don't know if that's a failure in comms or what's going on there. That's weird. And then I don't even think that smoke was prepared. I think he like came in way late. Wow. What a hero play. He got an ace just from sitting right there. They just all walked into that. So they did win the round, but I don't know if that was a comm issue or they're just not paying attention to what's going on, but they were completely oblivious to blue after that Wamai died. I think it was a Wamai in there. Alright, so strat was good. Good positioning. Strat good. That way we know what's good and what's bad. But possible comm issue and not reacting to what's happening, right? So I don't know if it was just comms, if the comms were slow, or if that guy just wasn't reacting. So we'll put both because we're unsure since we can't hear the comms, but something was going on there because the blue guy gets picked and that, you know, at least the Malusi, if she was looking over there, could have got a pick, you know, when they were running down the stairs or dropped the hatch, and she's just never looking over there the whole time. So I'm not sure what happened there, but we're gonna mark those as some issues. It doesn't seem to be a consistent problem, so that's fine. But um, that got a little bit sketchy there because that round was definitely in their favor, uh, and they kind of threw it away, and then we saw the Maestro pick up the slack there and win the round for them. So I think this dude is Jane. I know he's been doing work for the team in this game, or at least this half anyway. All right, so we see him going back to CCTV. This is the same setup they had before. I don't imagine they're going to be bandit tricking this time because there's really no point. They got away with it the one round. They didn't do too well at it in the gym round. In this round, they probably just put down their bandits and move on. But and again, we can see it's the same setup. So again, Sonics are going to have to really prioritize what they're using utility on because again, we got two bubbles. We've got the Wamai disc. Last time he played Garage, so they didn't really come into like they didn't affect anything in terms of the site itself. It was just part of Garage. But then you've got the two Goyo shields and the three Banshees, so it's really going to come down to like what they prioritize, what is important to get rid of. Because if you think about it, like when we see this, obviously we've got the sound cube, the Banshee. This is where it was last time. I can't see it right now, but they're gonna have to decide like if they want to. They could get rid of both, obviously, or which one they're gonna get rid of. Because if they don't get rid of the bubble, then that's constant information that it gives them, right? But if they don't get rid of the shield, then that's information as well, but also a pressure point because someone could always be sitting behind the shield. So um, it's gonna like everything comes down to either getting picks, like just winning gunfights, or using their utility correctly because there's so much to get rid of in this sense because of this setup. The other thing that happened last time is the that's the round that the Thatcher went into stocks and got wall banged. I don't think he's gonna make the same mistake again. All right, yeah, we already see him up there throwing a Thatcher or an EMP. Their timing was off there though, so they had to use. I guess they only had to use one, but it looked like they were gonna have to use two EMPs there because the EMP got thrown a little bit early. But and we can see just like we talked about initially is they throw an EMP, they throw two Selmas. The Bandit could only take one, but instead he chose to bail, which is the right move. So all right, there goes the shield. So they still got to get rid of the Banshee and the bubble. But we can see most. It looks like they got rid of all three because all three Ash charges are gone. So at this point, all they have is one EMP and two impacts. All right, so there's both concussions and one impact. Wow, nice team play. So you can see they were getting ready to pressure this Wamai on top rafter, and this the Goyo pushes in right away, gets a pick bottom garage, and that's diffuser down. So that's a really good pick there. Oh, he gets a double, nice. Oh, I think we talked about it. Did we talk? I don't remember, but on the door, if you're on the left side here, always be aware that your shadow, and we can see the shadow here, shows, right? So they know when that you're there or that you're going to swing. If you're on the left side of the door, when you swing, there's no shadow. But obviously, if you're swinging the left side, you're exposed to a lot more of rafter. So in case anybody doesn't know that, and I didn't touch on it before, I can't remember. That's just a quick rundown of that. Nice. All right, so 2v4. This is definitely their round, 50 seconds. 1v4. Okay. So that was good team play. The whole round was won by Garage, right? Like the Goyo got the pick there. I didn't see where he got the second pick. It was either blue or something. But he got the first pick and then got his second pick, which is good. But then this Wamai got a 3K here. So the whole round was won through this bottom garage or through garage here, and the reason why is because the Hibana here made a huge mistake, went in, and I was talking about before. I wasn't sure why they were dropping diffuser, but this is the one case where if the Hibana was gonna push into garage, she should have left the diffuser outside of the garage. I'm not sure why she decided to push in with the diffuser. Um, that was a weird move. And secondly, like if you see that she died with a drone in pocket, so that's another problem. But in reality, like it should have been someone else that pushed into garage instead of her. Or if she chose to push in garage, she should drop the diffuser. There's no point in that person going in. And if they do, there's definitely no point with them going in with the diffuser. So by going in with the diffuser, like I try not to put the blame on people too much of like how you lose a round, because in my opinion, if the team fails, it's a team failure overall. But we can distinctly say that this round was simply lost because like we don't know how the round would have gone if this didn't happen, but the round was 100% in a bad situation because she died with the diffuser in the bottom of garage, right? So that forces her teammates to have to try and take garage and get that diffuser, and it forces them to put themselves in bad positions so that they can get the diffuser, right? They may not have had to be put in those positions, and they may not have had to do what they did if the Hibana didn't die in garage with the diffuser. So they had a lot of things going for them. They had the wall open. They had a lot of time to work with, and for some reason that was a huge mistake on the Hibana's part. But so that's why they lost this round. Like I said, in my opinion, most times teams lose because it's a team failure. But in this case, we don't know how the round would have gone if he didn't make this play. But obviously, like we said, has to go in there, put themselves in bad positions to win, or sorry, to get the diffuser. But moving on from that, we can say that this is good teamwork on the Wamai and the Goyo's part, because like we just talked about, they single-handedly won the round by themselves, like because of their teamwork. The Goyos supported the Wamai in this case, got the pick, which was lucky and downed the diffuser, and then he stepped up and got a 3K. Like he could have lost any of those gunfights. So overall, this was just a good round on DG's part, and lucky that they got that diffuser down. So good teamwork. Good strat, good use of utility, and again, well, we can just copy and paste this, because again, we see a lot of teams that when someone like Jaeger gets banned, they kind of just totally lose it. They don't know what to do or how to adapt. In this case, I think that this was probably their normal strat, and the only thing that they switched out was probably the Jaeger, is most likely what I think. And then they picked up the bandit and bandit tricked instead of just like putting the bandits down. So I think they just played well overall. They win this round 4-2. So or sorry. Okay. So we'll end it here. We talked about at least on this half, what they did wrong, what they could have done better. We talked a lot about a lot of their stuff. I think was strategy more than anything, and overall, we didn't see any bad habits for the most part that were repeating. Um, a lot of it was strategy stuff, at least in those first couple rounds. But overall, they recovered well, and they did fine. So they did win the half 4-2. But maybe if the first round is whatever, they tried that strat, it didn't work. But the second round is a failure because they didn't adapt or change anything really besides putting the mute over in bathroom in the stall, which was probably, bad positioning like we talked about. So this round could have been different. Maybe they could have ended 5-1 if they had done some stuff different in the second round, but that's all hindsight. But hopefully moving forward, this is something that their team talks about and learns from. And so we'll just leave it at there. I'll put up the second half come probably tomorrow. I'll put up the attack half, but this is just a defense half. Overall, good half. Nothing more to say. So thanks for your time.